going to crack the seal on Advanced Dungeons and Dragons for the Mattel Intellivision. Now, I purchased this cartridge at a retro game store, which was then also, I believe, came from a different retro game store. And if you look at it, it's not in great condition. The box is kind of pushed in up here. The shrink wrap is a little messy, and my guess is that this game was re-shrink wrapped, and we'll find out. It only cost me $10, but we're gonna crack the seal and see what's inside. Was it re-shrink wrapped? Can we trust retro game stores? Let's find out. Okay, the box feels very used, but it also looks like it was sitting in the sun, so that's something. And if you look inside here, well, the cartridge is in the bottom, right here. It says 1982 TSR Dungeons and Dragons, but this feels like an aftermarket. It's true to my Intellivision Inc. 1982. No, I guess Intellivision Inc. Copyright 1982. And it's from TSR, but this doesn't look like the original. This looks like this might have come out after. I don't know. This looks very cheap compared to what I would have expected Mattel to create for the Intellivision in 1982. Let's read the back of the box. This package contains one Advanced Dungeons & Dragons cartridge, 2 controller overlays, and playing instructions. Advanced Dungeons & Dragons cartridge. Journey into a land of treasure, adventure, and dark, dark danger. Lead a 3-man expedition through winding mountain caverns in search of tools and arrows. Within the caverns, deadly monsters lie in wait. Slay the monsters, overcome the obstacles of a hostile land, and enter the legendary Cloudy Mountain. Here you'll find the Crown of Kings and the deadliest terror of all, the Winged Dragons. Plot your route to Cloudy Mountain. Find your way through the caves. 1 or more can play 4 skill levels. Obstacles include brown and black mountains, rivers, forests, and walls. I'm glad there's walls. Monsters include dragons, demons, snakes, bats, rats, spiders, and the winged dragons. Each type of monster has different characteristics for you to discover. Tools to overcome obstacles and arrows to slay the monsters must be found in the caves. You start with 3 arrows. That's not a lot of arrows. 3 is a little. Cave rooms and passages light up as you enter them. Who knows what evil lurks in the next room? I think they're trying to say there's fog of war. There's fog of war. Exciting sound effects highlight play. The cartridges are approved by TSR Hobbies Inc., the publisher of the fantasy role-playing games, sold under the trademark Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 1982 TSR Hobbies. So, I mean, this was an official license for the Mattel Intellivision for Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, which is cool. Ironically, Dungeons & Dragons is now owned by Hasbro. It wasn't owned by Hasbro back then. But Wizards of the Coast is owned by Hasbro, which owns Dungeons & Dragons. There are 2 overlays here. The overlays are nice. They come with their little paper backing. So my feeling is not that this was repackaged in any way. That this is from the Intellivision Inc. era, not Mattel Electronics. Distributed by Intellivision Inc., Torrance, California. Which is after Mattel Electronics was sold to became Intellivision Inc. So that's why this one it looks neat, and they must have still had the license for a few years until they didn't have it anymore, which is why I believe this is called something else. They renamed this in one of the Intellivision collections so they could have the game, because the game is neat. The game is cool, and we'll see it in a little bit. But here are the instructions. Kind of, I mean, again, this doesn't feel like this is what an Intellivision game, original television would have. Kind of cheap, but maybe it was. I don't know. You can fire arrows, you can pick up, you can exit, you can run pick up object, run with the disc, exit the mountain, walk. There's a lot of stuff you can do, which we'll see in the game, because it is one of the games I fondly remember from my friends in Intellivision when we had it at the time. So this is Advanced Dungeons and Dragons for the Intellivision, and let's go check it out. But again, this is the Mattel Electronics version for the Intellivision Master Component, not the original Mattel Electronics version. Probably why it only cost me $10. All right. So here is Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, licensed by Mattel from TSR, released in 1982, re-released by Intellivision Productions, or what's it called? Intellivision Corporation, Intellivision Inc., and probably, I don't know, 1984, 1985, anyway, this version. And so what you do first is we're going to choose difficulty level, and I'm going to choose 1. And you're given this map. It's randomized every time, which is kind of cool, so you can play differently every time. So apparently what this says is the brown mountains are impassable. That's those. The black mountains contain caves that permit passage, so I guess that's these. And rivers can be crossed with a boat. And then there's these things that need keys. You can get a boat, you can get keys, probably in these dungeons somewhere. And you could pick up tools along the way. So let's go inside and try to go inside one of these mountains. There we go. So we can go inside here. And here we are. And now we're inside. And when we're inside, we're going to see that there are things on the ground. And one of those things happens to be some arrows. And there's also some little dots. Let's see what these things are. So there's arrows to pick up. There are tools. There are monsters. And I don't see what the little dots are. There's like a set of little dots. Maybe they're just, this doesn't really say. Okay, well anyway, we're gonna go. So first thing we can do is we can press this little button here, and it'll count our arrows. It counts it with a sound. Okay, so let's go. We're gonna run around this maze. We move with the disc, and we fire with the buttons. Hey look, there's a slime out there that we don't want to get to. Oh, this must be in the easy version. It shows us the monsters, and it killed us right away. So in the easy version, the monsters show up on the map before we get there. That doesn't happen in the other version. Fire, that's the guy. Fire, we got him. Hey, there's a key. Let's pick it up. So it's interesting that you go into these mazes and pick up stuff on the map before you get to Cloudy Mountain. And it feels to me like that is, feels a little bit like, why can't I fire an arrow? Let's pick this up. It's weird. Did I shoot all my arrows? Let's count. Well, I've got none. That's why. Okay. So we should be able to pick this up down here, I think. Maybe not. Maybe that's just something on the ground. Let's keep going and see if we can find some arrows, because otherwise we're just going to have to die because we don't have any arrows. There they are. Pick those up, and we can shoot this. Come over here. Ah, he killed me before we could shoot. Darn it. How many arrows do we have? Let's count. Oh, we've got a lot. Okay, let's go this way then. We're trying to find the exit, I think, and that would take us to the other side of that mountain so we can continue on the map. This is an interesting way to put Dungeons and Dragons into a cartridge. It's not really that much like Dungeons and Dragons, so it's more like an adventure game. I'm sure the guys who made it had played Dungeons and Dragons, because it was very popular at the time, especially with people who would make games. But I think the limitations of the Intellivision made it so they couldn't make it that close to Dungeons and Dragons. But it has some of the feel to it. I mean, you're running around caves, you're trying to find stuff. It's kind of neat. Now, let's shoot this guy so we can get by. That works. It feels a little bit like Temple of Apshai or Gateway to Apshai. A little bit with that overhead map like Dragon Stomper. But Dragon Stomper is clearly more like a role-playing game than this is. This is like an action-adventure game in a map. It's fun. I remember playing this at my friend's house back in the 80s. And the one thing about this is you'll notice is that you can't shoot these blobs, so you kind of have to wait for them. I wonder if we could pick up this head. No, it must be something that's just decorating the area. Let's go this way now and see if we can find another way around, because that blob is blocking us. And there's a Gorgon or something. Got him. Ooh, is that a ladder down? It's an exit. We made it! Let's go this way. And this way. Oh, we're in another one. Okay, so we have to go again. So we keep going. So we made it to mountain number 2, and now we're inside. This is interesting because it is different every time. I think they generated these dungeons, which is cool. Oh, there's the way out. You just gotta get that snake. I mean, for what it is, this is fun. Now we've got to go through this mountain and do pretty much the same thing. Here we are again. And, you know, we're going to have to... Oh, there's the exit. Just got to shoot down. Let's get our exit. And, now we continue down this way. And my guess is this just continues until we make it to Cloudy Mountain. We don't have time to make it to Cloudy Mountain today. I'm not going to play the whole game, but this is what the game looks like. It's actually, I think it's really fun. So there is your Advanced Dungeons & Dragons for the Mattel Intellivision, the first Dungeons & Dragons video game ever made, licensed by Mattel for the Intellivision. They were really forward-looking by licensing Dungeons & Dragons. Now owned by Hasbro, and Wizards of the Coast is owned by Hasbro, but back then, very cool. Good job, Mattel Electronics. That's a cool game.